Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. I hope everyone who's watching this video is doing well. I hope you've all had an amazing week so far. I am Liam, and this is your daily market outlook for today, Friday, the 4th of July. I think we are going into a bank holiday. Obviously, 4th of July in this States is a big one. Yeah, man, obviously, probably expecting nothing much on the markets today, but we'll wait and see if we can get anything from any of the major pairs. But again, obviously a bank holiday Friday for the US. But as always, hopefully you guys should be able to see my screen. And with that being said, I just want you guys to understand that the content on this channel is for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing shared in these videos should be considered financial investment or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Any past performance discussed does not guarantee future results. Understand that you are responsible always for your own financial decisions. So, with that being said, let me just get rid of this from my screen, and then we can get straight into the charts. You guys should be able to see my screen now, I think. Amazing, perfect. Okay, let's get straight into it. In fact, let me just quickly change my name on here before I forget. Okay, perfect. So yeah, going into today, of course, as you guys can currently see, obviously Friday news on Forex Factory, we just literally have 8 p.m. Euro USD, which is just a orange folder news. Obviously, yesterday we had the big news event, which was NFP, and we can analyze obviously that with what's happened. But before we do so, as always, guys, let's stay connected. Make sure that you've got your subscribe button turned on. I really want to get this to 500. Really want to get that to 500. It's annoying me how it's 465. So if you guys aren't subscribed, it would just mean a lot if you could just click that subscribe button. And obviously, if you're loving these, make sure you turn your notification button on so that you guys can obviously get notified whenever I upload a video onto YouTube. So make sure that you guys are doing that. Make sure that you guys obviously just show some support back if you don't mind. Of course, you are your own person and you can do whatever you want. But yeah, going into today, in fact, just quickly, if you click on my bio, again, my free Telegram's here. My only Instagram is here, and also if you want to work on a one-to-one basis is there as well. Going into today, obviously let's analyze what happened with NFP. So look from the naked eye, you'll be able to see that this was our NFP candle. We did have a lot of well, not too much, but a lot of volatility. We probably could have expected more, in my opinion. I thought we could potentially have got up into these imbalances. We've only really got into this imbalance here. So if you guys remember yesterday, I was specifically talking about the fact that I'm not going to be trading plasma. I'm not going to be trading obviously this. I'll be trying to look if I can capitalize on afterwards, but not before. So let me just mark this out, because obviously a lot of the time NFP, because it's such big economic news event, it's something that I always say, and I said it yesterday, you can't really predict. You can obviously have a bias on what you think is going to happen by looking at the economic state of a current pair. But for me, it wasn't something that I thought, yeah, 100%. I know what's going to happen. So that's why I'd rather sit on my hands sometimes and just wait and then capitalize on afterwards. So as you guys can see, yesterday what happened, we blew out this supply. Let me just get rid of this. So what we've done is we blew out the supply. You can see we blew out this supply, even though we still mitigated it, but we did tap above. And we obviously just mitigated this daily imbalance that we had. So looking at where we're currently, at, you can see that the market is, for me, creating a new 4-hour range. And that 4-hour range is basically from, this higher low to this higher high. So the reason for that is we didn't quite tap into this demand area, but you can see that yesterday when we said we're trapped between supply and demand, we almost come into that area. We filled in a lot of this imbalance, and then we've had that NFP candle. So for me personally, there's two scenarios I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at the fact that, let me just get rid of this noise. I'm going to look at the fact that, let me just go to the weekly. I'm going to look at the fact that the daily candle has tapped into this imbalance. And obviously now could that mean that we go and see that volume away? That is one scenario, of course, from a daily standpoint, because if you look at the overall sentiment of the dollar is extremely bearish as we speak. So obviously, with that being said, we just got to sit on our hands and wait to predict what you think is going to happen. And then you look at the 4 hour, and obviously 4 hour is still extremely bearish, of course. But the one thing that I notice from a technical standpoint is if we follow the structure that's happened here, creating them lower lows, lower highs. This should have been our new lower high to go and create a new lower low. We failed to go and create that new lower low, and that's where we've come into this and then had this. So for me personally, from a technical standpoint, yes, this is a daily imbalance which we could obviously see the market move away from. But from a technical standpoint on a 4 hour, you'll be able to notice that, of course, this is a 4 hour break of structure. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, okay, so you just said, dailies in a daily imbalance and could sell off, but 4 hours in a bullish. And this is where obviously experience comes in because, you guys, I know what people are like you guys want to trade. Like that is what most people want to do. They just want to trade. They want to get in the markets and that's it. And that's all they're asked about. Whereas, investors, they don't look at it as if, I need to trade every single day. It's, what is the best setup with the best reward. So, looking at where we're currently at from this structure, one thing I can notice is obviously, this candle here. So when we had this NFP candle, this candle come down, filled in this demand area, which was here. And then with that being said, what I expected from this 4 hour demand is I expected the market to basically move away. I expected, so we basically had this push up, we filled in this, tapped into this imbalance, tapped into this demand, and I expected the market to just slowly start building up away then. That's what I was thinking because of the way that this candle reacted. Now, as you guys can see, what you can see happening is we're still melting away. So we're still melting away. So we are trapped still in between this daily imbalance and demand. If I go to the 1 hour, all I can see from a 1 hour perspective is, we have this 4 hour demand, but we also have a little bit of imbalance here. So this, 1 hour demand here, but what is going on in this area? Well, what you can see is the market is still downtrending pretty much on the 1 hour. You can see that we're having them lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Is this going to be the lower high that goes and creates a new lower low? So, with this, my advice, and obviously I'm not a financial advisor, but my advice for myself would be, what I'd be waiting for is, we're reacting out of this 1 hour supply as we speak. Can you be reacting out of this supply here? Can I personally sit on my hands for Friday and just wait it out? Well, yeah, I can because I can go and do what I got to do. I can go and live life a little bit. And then I can recap on Monday to see what's what. So again, the only thing that I'm thinking right now is if this happens, okay, perfect. We're still in that downwards trend. We can see this carry on potentially to this demand or further. Or if we get this, so let's just focus on the trend so you can see it. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. If we fail to go and create a new lower low and we get this, then of course the 4 hour and the 1 hour will then be in alignment. And then we can look to predict that the market's going to go back to bullish. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens going into today. Into today and into next week. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Patience, very, very much patience. You guys should know my how I do my technical side. If the 4 hours like this, what we expect is we need to be in alignment. We need the 1 hour trend, which you should be able to spot, to be like this. Once we see this break, so that 4 hours bullish, 1 hour was bearish, and now we've broken that last lower high, created a new higher low because we created a new higher high. Now the 4 hours bullish and the 1 hour would be bullish, and now we're in alignment. So until then, we're in this scenario right now. We're in this scenario where the market is just here in a demand, but the market in the 1 hour is downtrending. So we go off the 1 hour supply, not the 4 hour, because the 1 hour is in control. The 4 hours not. Hopefully that makes sense. The 4 hours in control when we get that 1 hour change of trend. That's in alignment with the 4. So, that's what I'm expecting. I am in Euro USD personally, which I'll quickly go over. We talked about this area as well. Obviously very bullish. It come out very bearish, that NFP candle yesterday, going to the 4 hour. Sorry, let me just get rid of this from the other day. Going into the 4 hour, what can we see and what did we talk about? Well, we had a fresh demand area below here. We were still in this range from this higher high to this higher low. And if you guys remember, this is exactly what we talked about. We talked about it to a T. And as you guys can see, it has happened. What we was doing is we had this higher low and we had this higher high. We was building up liquidity. We were taking out the lows, taking out this low, taking out that low. Then we created this low when the market started to move away just for NFP. And then obviously what happened is, as you can see, manipulation. Early buyers who got into this imbalance, they would have got stopped out because the stop loss would have been just below. They would have got stopped out, and now we're slowly moving away. And the reason I always talk about like having a demand area with imbalance above is so important. And the same with supply, because look at that perfect reaction from understanding that the market's filled in the rest of this imbalance, tapped in, and now it's slowly starting to, move away from that. So for me personally, we're still in this range, as you guys will know if you're new to this channel. You can obviously always go and watch back my YouTube videos. I don't just come in here and say stuff that I haven't been talking about. Everything that I talk about is documented on my YouTube, so I can't really fake this stuff if that makes sense. And that's what I love about live analysis every single day, because you guys can see what I talk about, if I'm lying, if I'm not, so on and so on. So going into the 1 hour, we're going to have pretty much the same scenario. So as you guys can see right now, yes, in this trade, which is currently up, I don't know, 1 to 4.3, currently sat around the 1 to 3.6. So if you look at this trade right now, let's get rid of this. In fact, we'll keep it just for say. I had this 4 hour demand, but if you guys look at this, how perfect was this reaction to this 1 hour demand here, where the imbalance just started? Where the imbalance just started on a 1 hour. This candle, this is the last candle. So we can actually do it here. Let me just make that again. You can go off here if you wanted. That last sell candle that caused this big movement up and caused the break of structure, that's where the market, with imbalance above that candle, that's where the market wants to react to. So yeah, you guys can see that is a beauty. I'm going to actually go off the 4 hour demand area there. And as you guys can see, what we're seeing right now is we're in the same scenario but the opposite side of the dollar. So you can see that we are creating that upwards trend, higher high, higher low, higher high. Could this be now the higher low to go and create a higher high? That's my main thought, because if you look at where we're reacting from, there's not much imbalance in here. But if you look at this candle, I would just always go off the last sell candle. So you can see that we're reacting from this 1 hour demand area, pretty much here. So, if two scenarios is, as I just said, if it was to carry on, higher low, higher high, we're going to just obviously most likely target these highs, because we have pretty much got some sort of trend line here. Not quite as much, but we have got highs, high, high, high. So that could be our liquidity target. But if we do go bearish, obviously what I'll be waiting for and what I will know is, because I'm at break even anyway, is if we break this low, and let's say we get this now, I know that obviously I can either take my profits or just, get hit out of break even. And then we could potentially see this hitting the downside. So let's see what happens with that today. GPUSD, I can't stand GPUSD recently. It's the only one that's peeing me off, because everything else has been working to a T. And GPUSD has just been doing its own thing, if I'm honest. But if you look at where we're currently at from a daily time frame, my first thoughts is, if we're going to get this institutional candle, why would we not come and fill in the rest of this imbalance? There's an imbalance on a daily that starts around here. Why would we not just come and fill in this imbalance? So my main thought is, is this a trick to getting buys when we could potentially look for this to be rebalanced? That's just one of my main thoughts. So if you look at the 4, you can see that we have got a clear 4 hour structure that we can work off from this supply zone here. Again, if you want to refine that supply zone to this, you can do. So yeah, we have obviously got something to keep an eye on, because if we're bullish right now, what I'll be waiting for is I'd be waiting to see how we react on this supply. And if we get a nice reaction, then obviously I'll know that we could potentially be looking to, fill in the rest of this imbalance and potentially go into this daily 4 hour demand area. So that's one scenario. And then obviously, let's say we do stick bullish, you can probably work off the 1 hour right now, which if you look, you can obviously see that the market, why am I doing that? You can obviously see that the market is currently right now had a pullback, come up, fails to create a new high, but we then started to now just trend upwards a little bit. So the range that we're currently in from a lower time frame perspective, is that the right word? Perspective is from this low to this current high. So it's the same scenario. Look, EUGU, pretty much the same scenario, even though for me, EU is a lot more cleaner. We're reacting from where this imbalance started here. This is our 1 hour demand area. So, don't need to really cover too much. All we're expecting is two scenarios. We dip, carry on, and then we can make a decision from this supply area here. And that's one thing. Or we get this change of trend, we break this low, and then potentially we could see, obviously, this melt off. Because this is a valid 1 hour track candle here as well, which we're in. So, yeah. Well, not quite in, but we have got the imbalance that we filled. So yeah, man, let's see what happens going into today. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. But everything is about the dollar. Is the dollar going to sell off from this supply, or is the demand going to carry on? Let's just see. AUD USD. Yesterday, obviously, we had this whole level here. We still had this range from this higher low to this higher high. We had this imbalance here, and we had this 4 hour demand. If you guys remember, let me just get rid of this a sec. We had this 4 hour demand, which you can see the market obviously again took this low here. We then faked out. What did we do? We took this low again, took this demand, took this low, filled in the rest of this imbalance, tapped into this demand, and then we started to obviously move away. And now, of course, this is extremely consolidated. Once we tap into a zone, what I would like to see happen is, we're just going to create a new high and then we just move on. That's what I would like to have seen happen. But as of right now, same as bloody always with these players a lot of the times recently, it's just, it works and it's just consolidating. And AU and NU, to be fair, have been all right recently, but they do like to consolidate. And when they consolidate, they consolidate. So, let's see what happens going into the rest of the week and then next week with that. 4 hours still the same range from this high low to this higher high. If we look at the 1 hour, you can see that obviously it's very choppy, but for me, 1 hour is consolidated, but we haven't broken any significant highs. So, you can see from this scenario here, when we dip back down, let's focus on this, you can see that the market come back up. Then it was, going to obviously carry on, it's come back, then it's come and create a high, and now we're just starting to like slowly go downwards again. So, depending on what I'm saying is depending on the dollar, if we was, let's say the dollar started to go bullish, then of course our next zone for AUD USD would be around this 1 hour supply. But I don't like that. Am I going to participate in this? No, I am not. If I tell you I am, then I'm lying. I'm not participating in this personally because it is extremely consolidated. So yeah, that's pretty much it for AUD USD. NZ USD blew the lows out of this demand, but the demand respected and obviously then started to slowly move away a little bit. But if you look at the trend that's in on the 4 hour, you can see that it is downtrending. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Potentially could be going to create a new lower low. So, looking at this scenario, it is downtrending. Obviously it's doing the dollar's obviously bullish on here. It seems from this perspective, and that's why obviously NU looks pretty clean for the opposite. So, first and foremost, I did what I see this 4 hour supply met because we have some sort of imbalance above. So from a 4 hour perspective, let's just get rid of this. I am in this 4 hour range. I'm in this 4 hour range. but again, you guys should know me by now. If you plug in, I always talk about what is the dollar doing? What is the dollar doing? What is the dollar doing? So, you guys should be making your decisions around the dollar because if, let's say the dollar's bearish and it carries on from that daily imbalance, why would we look for sells on NZUSD? We wouldn't. But yeah, you guys can probably see that's why this was my supply. We have some sort of imbalance above here. And now we've actually created pretty much equal highs here. So if it was to sell, for instance, what I would have wanted, especially now, would be I would have wanted to see a punch above, take out these highs, take out early sellers, fill in this imbalance here, tap into the supply, and then we get that movement away from a NZUSD. But yeah, that's that for NZUSD. Going into USD CAD. USD CAD at the moment is still bearish, even though we're in this demand. So remember, we talked about this supply quite a lot, and you can see how beautiful the market has been reacting. You'll probably be able to see it a lot more on the 4. If we just look at it from a naked eye, you can see that, the market is in this demand, but we are extremely bearish. If I just zoom out, sometimes you guys have got to zoom out. What is this telling us about the economic state? Well, it's telling us that it's bearish, extremely bearish. That's why you need to play that into your hand. So we tapped into the daily supply up here, and then we started to create lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, new lower low. So yes, we're in this demand, but supply is in control from a 4 hour. So what am I looking at? Well, I wanted to see this area of supply tapped into yesterday, but we didn't quite get that for NFP. We didn't quite, get that. So you can see that the market come close enough. So for me personally, yes, we do have a new range, which will be from this lower high to this lower low. This is a valid breaker structure. So most likely on the 1 hour, or maybe even the lower 15, there might be a clearer supply candle. Let me just make this. And obviously that supply candle from the 15 for me would be, this institutional candle here. So 15-minute supply. So we've got that, supply candle here, but also just understand that if you look at this from a 4 hour perspective, I also wouldn't be surprised if we use this as liquidity because of this imbalance above. And this fresh supply. So look, 2 scenarios that I'd be looking for right now is from this supply, are we going to get this, to carry on from here? Or are we going to get the movement up, take out this high, use it as liquidity, fill in this imbalance, tap into the supply, and then get that movement away? So as of right now, from a 4 hour, we're obviously wanting to see, me personally, either this area or this area met. And then with that being said, if you look at the 1, that's where you'll be able to notice that the 1 hour is bullish. So can we capitalize on the 1 hour being bullish? Can we see this? And then we make a decision from this area or this area up here. So but also just quickly understand that, yes, this is an ugly NFP candle, but that is a valid supply. So if you're looking for longs in this area, but this 1 hour supply candle here takes control and melts it off, that's just it is what it is. This supply is at the extreme level of this lower high. It's the extreme level of this lower high. But looking at this, what I would be potentially expecting is 2 things. If we was to carry on bullish, for instance, with USD CAD, that would be my 1 hour demand. This pretty much filled in that 1 hour demand here. I would be expecting to see, let me make that as a technical standpoint, I would like to see this. So 2 scenarios, we come in and we carry on, or the other scenario would be this 1 hour supply institutional candle is still in control and we just melt off. That's the way, I know it sounds, cliche, where you're going to buy, where you're going to sell, see if we're going to go up, see if we're going to go down, but that's just the way you approach the markets. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys with USD CAD. USD CHF is a lot more cleaner, hell of a lot more cleaner. We look at the 4 hour, you can see that the area, as always, we called out. As you guys can see, am I in USD CHF? I swear I'm in USD CHF. Here I am. I don't know why I've not got that marked out. I'm in USD CHF. But as you guys can see from this supply, just textbook, like literally just textbook, where we have the same areas that we look for. We have a valid range. We have a clear imbalance with a supply candle above or candles above, which is, here. Now, as you can see, the market's institutional NFP come up and now we're starting to move away. So from a 4 hour, this is still our range from here. Still our range is the same. We haven't broken above that to this lower low. So from a 4 hour, I were to see this and then we carry on downwards. But of course, if you look from this perspective, this institutional candle yesterday, we are bullish on the 1 hour. So if you look at the one, sorry, we're bullish on, that was the 4 hour. We're bullish from here. So what I'm trying to say is this for me is in control, but we need to see how we're going to react, which we are reacting from right now, out of this this 4 hour demand. I want to see if I can see this broken, we're coming attacking these lows. If we break this low, we are attacking these lows. And that leads us on to the 1 hour, where we can see that the 1 hour, is still bearish as we speak. We're reacting from currently this 1 hour supply. So if you look, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, could we see this go and create that new lower low and just carry on downwards? That's what I'm looking at currently. Of course, only other scenario is if we get that lower low here, and then we react like this from this area, we can then obviously look to think, okay, this could be bullish, and we could be, going bullish from this area here. So just keep an eye out on that. Let's see what happens. But as of right now, we are reacting from that 1 hour supply, and then obviously as you guys potentially would have already seen, the supply area on here got absolutely taken out with NFP. We did mitigate this and we was in that supply, but you can see that we didn't get that big movement away. It was just choppy on these 4 hours. NFP came, blew right through. Now, of course, we still got some imbalance to fill and this supply for me to mitigate. So yeah, we did quite obviously get that. My next area would be for USD Japanese yen, around where this imbalance starts here. I would like to see if we can see a reaction from this 4 hour demand area, because this is my new 4 hour range. This is my new 4 hour range. From this to this. So pretty textbook. We'll obviously reanalyze going into next week to see, what happens. If we look at the daily time frame, it is pretty ugly, but yeah, we'll see what happens going into next week. USD Japanese yen's not exactly on my first to look at anyway. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. So yeah, what I'm basically trying to say to you guys is, could we see obviously this to carry on upwards or not, basically? Because I don't really like the sells, but obviously if you look at the 1 hour, you'll be able to notice that we are trending obviously down. So if you guys, for yourself, with your own experience, looking for the shorts in this area, then making a decision from this demand, you guys can obviously do that. But yeah, man, that is pretty much it for today's session. Again, let's stay connected over on my YouTube. Go to the bio, drop me a follow, join the Telegram if you want to. And obviously fill out this form if you want to work on a one-to-one basis with myself. But other than that, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you've all had an amazing week. You've had a successful week on the charts again. So, hopefully you guys are having breakthroughs, you're enjoying this analysis, you're enjoying my educational, analysis on this YouTube. Other than that, take care. God bless. Have an amazing weekend.